As you continue to learn about guitar, you're going to find that the process is really about forming a new series of habits. Good habits, but still habits. For example, you must develop the habit of practicing scales to master lead guitar. The habit of jamming with backing tracks will make you a better player. The habit of playing guitar with friends at least once a week will increase your playing skills in a very short period of time. We can all slack off practice left to our own devices, but when we're expected to show up at a jam session and know a new song, that's the kind of pressure that moves you forward quickly. But there's one habit that is more important than all others. If you don't develop it, you'll never be much of a guitarist. This habit is a consistent daily practice ritual. Daily practice must be habitual, or none of the things you're practicing will become second nature. Pick a time of day and practice at that time every day. Now, if not a time of day, at least anchor it to some other daily activity like right before or after a meal. If necessary, you can break each day's practice sessions into smaller segments, but this is more difficult to manage because you need to make a series of daily commitments. But it can be managed. Nobody's perfect, obviously. Even though you set a time each day to practice, it's easy to say, maybe a little later, and eventually you run out of laters and you run out of day. My preference is to practice first thing in the morning before beginning work. However, I take a look at my day, and if something's going on that will make practicing a necessity, I'll let myself off the hook. For example, today, I know that I'm going to be recording the playing exercises for this lesson, and obviously I'll be playing before and after the recording session. So I remain flexible. Just not so flexible that the day passes without at least an hour of practice. In the words of Aristotle, we are what we do every day. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. I'm calling the chord progression in exercise 1, Almost There. Now, how did I come up with that title? It just came to me. Seemed appropriate. You're just beginning to play guitar and you really are almost there. You're very close to being able to describe yourself as a guitarist. I was at an MAB concert a year ago, and as you probably know, most of what Michael plays is instrumental music. And he had this funny bit describing how he named tunes. He said, since there aren't any lyrics, he could call them anything he liked, and he had a point. It's so much better to actually have a name to describe the song rather than refer to it as the AGFE chord progression or exercise 1. Now I'll go over a few things about the recently named song, Almost There. At the top of the page, you'll notice a few chord diagrams. Notice how it resembles the fretboard held in a vertical position. The 5 to the left of the first diagram means that the diagram begins on the 5th fret. The black dots are where my fingers are supposed to be positioned, and the X's along the top indicate those notes aren't to be played. If possible, they should be muted by lightly touching the strings with the palm of your picking hand. The second chord is a G5, also a 5th type interval, or as we prefer to say, a power chord. Notice the thick black line at the top of the diagram. That shows the position of the nut, so there's no need to list a fret number to the left as in the first chord, the A5. You can see that this one begins on the 3rd fret because you can see the position of the nut. The chords in exercise 1 are shown as whole notes. They each get 4 beats. The combination of these chords is called a chord progression. They're repeated to form the verse, chorus, or other section of a song. Each progression is the foundation for hundreds, maybe even thousands of songs. You can make them sound quite different by changing the rhythm and tempo. When you hear the chord progression in exercise 1, Stray Cat Strut probably doesn't come to mind, but it does use these same chords in the same order. The rhythm is quite different. Take a look at the document in your course materials PDF folder labeled Note Names. This isn't an extensive lesson on the subject, but it is an introduction. It's important that you at least learn the note names on the 5th and 6th strings. As a bonus, you also know the note names on the 1st string because they're exactly the same as the 6th string. First, note names are in alphabetical order. A to G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then it starts all over again with the octave. A, B, C, D, E, F, G again. The octave is the same note 12 frets higher. This is the E string, played open, and it's an E note. So I count up 12 frets. And 12 frets higher is the same note, repeated, an E note. This E is the same note, an octave higher. 1 fret higher than a note is a sharp. This is an A note, so this is an A sharp. 1 fret lower than a note is a flat. The 6th string 7th fret is a B note, so 1 fret lower than B is B flat. Now you might have noticed this is the same note. So it's A sharp because it's 1 fret higher. But it's also B flat because it's 1 fret lower than B. This is a little confusing, but still pretty simple. 1 fret higher is a sharp and 1 fret lower is a flat. It's that simple. So in review, we have notes A to G, then they repeat an octave higher, A to G, and it keeps going on like that. Pick out a note, and 1 fret higher is a sharp, and 1 fret lower is a flat of the same note. Here's the final rule. C doesn't have a flat. It goes straight to B. C to B. F doesn't have a flat. It goes straight to E. E straight to F. D flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E. The 5th string open is an A note. So, A, B flat, B, straight to C, B flat, D, E flat, E, straight to F, G flat, G, A flat to A, the octave. Learn the name of notes on the 6th string, which begins with an open E, and you know the name of the notes on the 1st string, which is an open E, F, B flat, G. It's just 2 octaves higher. The value of knowing the note names on the 6th string is when someone says play a B power chord, you'll know exactly where it is, but right now you might have to count up the neck, but you'll figure out here's a B. Hopefully before long you won't need to count, you'll recognize the notes. Then there are the power chords with the root note on the 5th string. So this is a C power chord because that's the C root note. Guitar licks are short melodic phrases. Exercise 2 shows how to form a lick from the first pentatonic pattern that you learned last week. You use notes from this pattern to form the licks. And these licks can be played over any A minor chord progression. Here's the first lick. So as an example, to improvise, you just choose more notes from that scale. Same with the other 3 licks. Here's the second one. So we can throw in some other licks from the scale. Pick using all downstrokes. If you're using Guitar Pro software, you can slow this to a comfortable tempo and gradually increase speed over time. By gradual, I mean increase the tempo by 2 to 3 beats per minute per day. With Guitar Pro, you can also mute the lead guitar track so you can solo without playing along with the reference guitar track. There are several different picking techniques. The method I'll explain in this lesson generates all movement from the wrist hinging up and down. This hinging motion is actually very slight. I'm exaggerating the movement so you can see what I'm talking about. It really looks something like this. Be certain that there is no movement from the thumb and index finger. You want it to look like this, not like that. The thumb and index finger aren't actually rigid, but there is no flexing either. Use this motion to move the pick using one of 2 different motions. All downstrokes, as you've already learned, like that, or alternating up and down picking, like that. Most of the time I use alternating up and down picking because it's faster. You can play twice as many notes and it sounds smoother. Playing smooth is called legato, but sometimes I want to sound choppy, so I use all downstrokes. Playing choppy is called staccato. Now go back and play exercise 2 using alternate picking. Next is exercise 3. It's the second pattern of the pentatonic scale that you learned. These are the exact same notes in the same order, just played at a different place on the guitar neck. Watch this. Here's an A note, and I'll follow it with the pentatonic scale in the first position. Now I'll move it to the second position, and as you should be able to hear, it's the same notes. Just played on a different position on the fretboard. Try to use the same fingering that I'm using. As you play each note, leave the finger pressed to the string. Only lift it when absolutely necessary. We've now learned 2 positions of the pentatonic scale. Notice that these 2 positions are right next to each other and share 6 notes. The notes that they share are these notes here. The pentatonic scale, as mentioned, only has 5 notes: pentatonic, Pent means 5. So each of these patterns has the same 5 notes. The 5 notes may be in different octaves, but they're the same 5 notes. Now this may be confusing. Watch this. Here's A to A, 5 notes. And then A to A, 5 notes. It's just an octave higher. Exercise 4 includes both the first and second pentatonic pattern. Play this exercise with alternate picking. From this exercise on, use alternate picking unless I tell you to use all downstrokes. All downstrokes are typically only used for rhythm like this. Until now, you've used only downstrokes because they're a little easier to play. With alternate picking, you are moving forward. Exercise 4 is played with eighth notes. There are 2 eighth notes for each beat. Here's exercise 4. The pentatonic scale has 5 patterns. You've learned 2 and you have 3 to go. We'll learn a new pattern in each of the next 3 weeks. Mastering these 5 patterns is a fundamental necessary for improvising lead guitar. There is a PDF in the course materials folder labeled A minor pentatonic patterns. Be sure to print the file and leave it in your practice area so you can focus on more than just the guitar tablature. Notice that each of these patterns has a visual shape associated with it, just like guitar chords. As you practice, glance at the pattern to absorb the visual image. If all goes well, you'll begin to look at the fretboard and visualize these patterns. Once you've got these patterns down, you will begin to understand the fretboard. When you reach the intermediate section of the course, the goal will be to play these faster, much faster. And this is accomplished by massive repetition. You can begin now by playing these patterns while watching TV or some other distraction. Well, that's the end of week 2 of the beginner course. Try to practice an hour each day. See you next week. Lesson materials for this lesson can be downloaded at store.metalmethod.com. Lesson materials include printable tab, Guitar Pro 8 animated play-along tab, fretboard diagrams, backing tracks, and more. This lesson is from my complete basic guitar course, the most popular rock guitar instructions since 1982. The course is for all levels of playing experience. I am available for private Zoom guitar lessons and also review video recordings of your playing to be sure that you're on the right track as you study my course. To download lesson materials and learn more about my lessons and the video review, please visit store.metalmethod.com. New lessons are uploaded to this channel weekly. To be notified, please subscribe to my channel. And be sure to like this video and comment below because I really enjoy hearing from you. I want to know your opinions. I also respond to most comments. See you on my next video.